Good afternoon to everybody. I'm here at the European Parliament with MEP from Germany, Christina Anderson, and we're just a few minutes ahead of a very, very important speech from Naomi Wolf, who edited the Pfizer papers, major 105 report composure that scan all the documentation that were filed by Pfizer and that were obtained through FOIA by a lawyer Aaron Siri. They fought very hard to obtain these documents, and MEP Anderson invited Naomi Wolf to give a speech at the European Parliament, one of the first speech. Thank you very much for giving us some of your time. It's been 5 years since the 2020 crisis, 5 years to have Naomi Wolf here in Brussels. First of all, it's a major achievement for yourself, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
And how difficult was it to obtain this authorization to actually get it done here?
Well, first of all, I have to correct you. In 2020, there was no crisis. It was a big lie. They framed like a virus that caused respiratory problems, which were no worse than any flu. But they made it, pumped it up to this huge crisis. We were told we were all going to die, and unless we did exactly what the government wanted us to do. But that was all part of their scheme. And I've been invested in that ever since the beginning, because in the very early beginnings, like in January, when we heard there's some virus going on in China, I was like, well, we don't know what's coming there. But things began rapidly not to make any sense at all. The measures they came up with, the restrictions that actually would have made sense at the time, for example, to not allow travel from China back to Europe, they didn't do that. If you just suggested that, which would have made sense, to isolate it somehow, you were called xenophobe, racist, or whatever. So it just didn't make any sense. So I never bought into this whole narrative of theirs. So I was invested from pretty much early on. And as it evolved, and it got more authoritarian, more tyrannical even. It was pretty clear, and everyone that wanted to know could have known and seen through the lies, but unfortunately a lot of people didn't. So ever since then, you connected with people around the world. Naomi Wolf, she was one of them, and it's my absolute pleasure to have her here, because what we have was with the book, the Pfizer paper, the crime that Pfizer wanted to hide, that is the smoking gun, right? Documents, they knew from the very beginning that the mRNA injections were worthless at best. At worst, they were harmful, and in a lot of cases, they were even lethal. People were dying from it. And they knew all of that. They knew all about the serious adverse events. And even without having that, if you looked at the adverse event reporting in the United States, you would have found that within the first 7 months of the rollout of the mRNA injections, they found 20 times more serious adverse effects and 23 times more deaths than combined all of the vaccines ever rolled out ever since the 70s. So, this was such a major flag, and no one reacted to it. So, this, like I said, is the smoking gun, and I'm very pleased to have Naomi Wolf here to present the findings. And there was a major project. Thousands of people, volunteers, worked on that, sifting through all of that paperwork. And here we have it. Pfizer knew everything, and our governments, I'm pretty sure, all knew about it too, and yet they kept pushing the mRNA injection on people, even threatening them with their livelihoods. You will lose your job if you don't get the jab. And I mean, we've heard it all. So yeah, that is quite astonishing what they pulled off.
Christina Anderson, you are one of the MEP, one of the rare MEP who's been fighting ever since the beginning. There are numerous MEPs who you have addressed, you have asked questions, and yet they have not listened to you, they have not read the papers. When you have members of parliament who are representative of the people who are acting like this, how does it make you feel? How do you reconcile the interaction between the MEP and the people who have voted, and yet they're people, the MEPs are supposed to protect the individuals?
Well, you know, I mean, to this day, I mean, even though we have the data now, right? Yeah. Even though, as I said, everyone could have known back then, okay, they didn't check it out, but now we all know. But to this day, whenever I raise these issues with the severe side effects, with the deaths associated with the mRNA injections, they mock me. They openly mock me. Yeah, they laugh out loud at, you know, the ridiculous things I'm saying, and they keep maintaining that the mRNA injection saved 20 million lives, which is another lie, a big lie. So they just continue to do that, and it is beyond me. I will never understand how elected representatives of the people, whose job is to act in the best interest of the people, how they can just push that aside. And to me, it's like they don't seem to care. They really don't. And this, to me, is actually hard to reconcile. At this point, I only have one word left for these people. They're traitors. They're traitors of the people that elected them to do right by them. And they simply will not do it. So yes, they are traitors.
Very hard word, traitors. I mean, is there...
Well, it was hard what they did to the people. I mean, they cursed them, they gaslighted them, they lied to them, they threatened them. You will lose your job, you will not be able to go ride a bus anymore. There was talk about the people will have to pay their own medical bills if they didn't take the jab and then got sick or whatever. I mean, there was some pretty heavy stuff going on. So yeah, they were harsh on the people. And if they did that for years, then hey, I guess I'm entitled to call them traitors.
Sure, you're entitled to call them traitors. However, I'd like to understand, are you getting directives as MEPs? Are you getting pressure? Do you get some pressure to actually stop conveying such a message or to comply with the, I would say, the consensus? I think it's important for the people who are voting for these people, what type of pressures you're getting from inside, from outside. Of course, there's a lot of interests. I mean, is it simply the monetary pressures or the external forces that we don't see?
Well, I can say I personally don't get any pressure in terms of that they approach me and tell me, hey, look, you can't say this, you need to do this, that, and the other, right? For a simple reason, it's not working with me. I mean, seriously. So what they were trying to do, of course, is shame me into compliance. Mm-hmm. For example, if I stepped on an elevator, they would leave the elevator.
The name and shame, discard message.
Or mocking me, you know, just that kind of pressure, like trying to shame me so I would just shut up. But the point of the matter is, as Gandhi said, you know, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you know you've won. And that's pretty much what's happened here. So they can try to shame me into compliance. It's not going to work. It simply will not work. I don't know why that is. I just I've done my research. I know what I'm talking about, and I know for a fact I'm not making things up. I'm not fear-mongering. I have the data to back it all up. So what do they want from me, right?
But for you, it's clear, and you've made it very clear. But what about for the others? I mean, have you seen frameworks? Have you seen methods that they're using? Because at the end of the day, you have 720 MEPs, less one or two or three or four, a handful of them who've been fighting like yourself, and we have to actually just be thankful to them. But the others, is it group thinking? Is it
in part is group thinking.
Convention?
It's group thinking. Money? It is money in some cases. They either benefit directly from just going along with all of that, or they benefit indirectly via a spouse. He might sit on some board of directors of some pharmaceutical company or a mask producer. I mean, we had these scandals in Germany where the Minister of Health, he made millions on these mask deals, right? So, I mean, it's very easy. He was the one imposing the mask mandates, and he was making money by buying and selling the masks, right? So, yeah, there is corruption going on like that. But you also have MEPs. I mean, just look around in this place. I mean, they're so glad to finally belong to the club, right? They don't want to risk that. So if they were to actually apply common sense, then they would see what they're doing is wrong. And even if they see it, they won't speak up because they are so glad they're getting invited to dinner parties, to play golf and stuff like that. And they don't want to risk that. They want to be part of the in-group.
So the etiquette is more important than anything else.
Yes. And then there's other MEPs. They kind of would like to speak up against it, but they don't because they would lose their mandate here because their party would no longer put them up on a list, elect them on a list. So they would, lose their job pretty much. So, and all of that seems to be more important than to do what their actual job is, which is to represent the people and act in their best interest.
Christiana, so let's turn to Germany. In Germany, there's some form of COVID committee investigating the crisis, and they're looking more specifically, I understand, about the risk to pilots, to air pilots, because of course we've seen side effects among the populations, but we've also seen side effects among pilots. Can you please tell us a bit more about this, or where does it stand?
So there is an inquiry committee that is going on in the state of Hessen. And they established that, and we were able to do so because in the last election we got enough MPs from our own party. It was enough to establish that committee. So what I can tell you about that, I had two or 3 years ago, I had an event here, and we had pilots here. And it's quite interesting, actually. So the pilots were told, you need to take the mRNA injection or you will lose your job. So the pilots that didn't take the mRNA injection were fired, and the pilots that did take the mRNA injection are now running the risk of being no longer fit to fly because of the side effects of the mRNA injection. So it's a catch-22, really. Which then leads to the fact that a lot of pilots, they feel kind of not right about it, they have problems, but they will not say anything because then they will lose their job because they're no longer fit to fly. So it is actually a great risk for these pilots to fly planes, but no one is really talking about it because, once again, the ones that didn't take the jab lost their job because they didn't take it. And the one that took it, they may lose their job because they have now medical issues, health problems, and they would fail to pass the test.
So do you think we have to go all the way to a plane crash for people to suddenly ask themselves what are the root cause of
I mean, there is security measures in place. There always have been. I mean, there's always 2 pilots on every flight. I mean, in case something like that happens, apart from the risk of possibly having a side effect from the mRNA injection. So, but still, this is an issue. It should be taken seriously, and the authorities, the governments, especially in the Western world, they really need to come around and they need to own up to the fact that they lied to the people and that they pushed mRNA injections on billions of people around the planet, knowing fully well that it is potentially harmful. But if they don't do that, then I don't see any way how that can be rectified, and there cannot be any reconciliation because the people lost trust in the institutions, and the only way to fix that is to own up to what you did. You lied to the people, and like I said, they are opting now. What they're doing is they're putting even more pressure on the people by censoring social media, coming up with all kinds of hate speech and disinformation kind of laws and stuff like that. So rather than admitting, okay, we went wrong, it was completely wrong what we did, they double down on it pretty much.
Mm-hmm. One of the questions regarding Germany in your part in the AfD, there are reports that between 4 and 6 people died over the last few years, I would say, in dubious circumstances. What can you say about this?
Unfortunately, it's now up to 7. 7 candidates died within the last 2.5 weeks, something like that. We don't have any indication whatsoever that there was foul play here. The causes of death are various: heart attacks, liver failure, organ failure. So it's not like that all died of a heart attack or all died in a car crash. One unfortunately committed suicide. But we really have no indication that there is anything going on, that they were murdered or anything like that. Yeah, a lot of them had underlying conditions, pre-existing conditions, and but what really was the most important piece of information for me, as far as that is concerned, is the families never raised any alarm bells. And I mean, if you're an AfD member, you are wide awake. You always, look, what is something going on here? Did something happen? And if none of the families raise any alarm bells, at this point, I do not have any reason to be alarmed. So all we know right now, it was natural causes, and we're just going to have to go with that. I mean, it's no use to speculate on things. This is, in the end, it's only going to hurt us. So as of now, what I can say, and I just spoke to the chair of the provincial party this morning to get confirmation on the information I had, and he confirmed it. So I have no reason to be alarmed at this point.
Thank you very much for that. And maybe one last question regarding the number. There are a number of legal claims and operations that are going on. Ursula von der Leyen was actually subject to a major lawsuit against her. She is still in place. She was subject to a censor in July. No one voted against her. Do you think this situation will go on for much longer, or at one point or another people will get together and understand the risk there is to democracy?
Yeah. It's actually, at this point, it's actually quite frustrating. I mean, it's probably appropriate to keep calling Ursula von der Leyen Teflon Uschi. Nothing seems to stick, So, I mean, in my view, I told her personally, she is corrupt to the core. I mean, just look at her husband, He hugely benefited from her having these dealings with Albert Bourla, which is a buddy of hers, in securing 4.6 billion doses of the mRNA injection, right? 4.6 billion. That is half the planet. That is 11 doses for every single citizen in the European member states. I mean, what did she know in September of 2020 that we didn't know? Because we were told 2 doses. you need, right? So anyway, there is so much stuff going on. Her husband benefited directly. They made billions. The pharmaceutical company made billions after billions. If something goes wrong, they're exempt from any liability claims. Add that to that. So it's just, to me, it's flabbergasting that she keeps getting away with it time after time. She has been reprimanded by several authorities, whether it was the ombudswoman, Maggie O'Reilly, that she should not have deleted these, or she should publish the SMS texts, the exchange with Albert Bourla. There is now a court ruling that told her very bluntly that, yes, you are in violation of the statutes.
New York Times lawsuits.
Exactly.
Court,
exactly. You are in violation of the treaties of the EU institutions. You should have provided these text messages. And but for years she's been refusing it and continues to do so. So I don't know what the citizens in the European member states did to deserve such a despicable person to head the European Commission.
And you've invited Noemi Wolf for a speech to present her. Do you think that this will help people to wake up within the European Parliament?
Well, every little thing helps. So, I mean, at this point, all people should know. But there's quite an interesting phenomenon which actually prevents people from wanting to know. They fell prey to the lies. They trusted their government. They took an mRNA injection because they were told it would keep you from catching COVID, it prevents you from spreading it, it will save grandma, right? So, and they, in good faith, took that mRNA injection. Now it turns out, and a lot of these people, they do know by now that it was a huge mistake to trust the government and get injected with this stuff. So I think they're afraid, so they don't want to find out. So that keeps them.
So they acted out of fear in 2021 to take the injection,
exactly.
And now they're acting out of fear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just in case
kind of like, if
something.
I don't know, then it's not going to be that bad. So that they don't want to even deal with that. I think that is a big part of it. But we need to. The people need to wisen up. They need to know what happened, and they need to know that yes, their governments lied to them, because something like that can never ever happen again. And the only way to prevent that is from people realizing they were lied to.
Thank you very much, MEP Anderson, for giving us some of your time from your office in Brussels. Thank you very much for following us. We will also attend the speech by Noemi Wolf. We will report on that. We believe it's very important for the audience of François and the audience of Europeans to be made aware of this. There's numerous lawsuits that have actually occurred in Europe on this. None have actually really gone to the extent of cancelling Ursula von der Leyen. But as we all say, every little helps, and maybe the next one will actually get past the hurdle of making everybody aware and making sure that politicians act in the interest of the people and the press as well. Thank you very much for following us at François. Thank you very much for having us in your office.
My pleasure.